Hello everyone, I'm Tina, the creative guru with Gems, Paper, Scissors. Today we're going to work with distress inks and shimmer brushes and make this gorgeous card. So I started off with just a standard piece of white daisy cardstock that is 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So I'm going to take some distress oxides. I'm going to start with seedless preserves, and I'm just going to go diagonally over my workspace, a little at a time until I have it all beautifully covered. This is the chipped sapphire. And as you see, I'm going over my previous color just a little bit, so I've got some extra byplay. Next up is mowed lawn. And I tend to slope my sponge and do circles. I find that I get a much nicer coverage and fewer little definitive, I used a round sponge kind of look. After the mowed lawn, I'm going to move on to candied apple, which is a gorgeous red. It's almost a coral blend with candied apples, or it's hard to explain, but it's just gorgeous. So if you've never used distressed oxides, they're a hybrid ink. They have both types of colorant, a pigment as well as a dye, which means that the dye absorbs into the fibers next to spiced marmalade, the fibers of your material, your cardstock, while the pigment sits on top. And what happens is, as it is dried, it leaves this really nice frosty layer on top. Last, I'm using the mustard seed, and I'm going to brighten this entire project by just going over the entire thing lightly with the mustard seed. You see that it's making my spiced marmalade a little richer in color, and it's brightening my blues and my greens, and even the purple has a little bit of a warmer tone. And I ran with a kind of a cloudy feel this time just because it seemed fun. So then I'm going to splatter my paper with flecks of water. You don't have to do this, but I like the water splash look. And I'm going to take a heat tool and lightly dry this. You'll see the water spots coming on. You'll see the colors of my distress oxides getting stronger and more vibrant. And it doesn't take long. So that's going to be the background on this project. Last little bit to dry, just like so. Now I'm going to do some standard stamping. I'm going to move my distress oxides out of the way. And for this project, I'm going to use my intense black ink and a stamp set called Smiles from the Garden, because I want to use this flower set and these little adorable butterflies. So all of our stamps come in a nice thin envelope, so it's really easy to store a lot of stamps in a very small space. This particular set has the option of getting it with thin cuts. Every stamp set comes with a foam backing, which helps with absorption of the ink. It gets a more thorough set absorption. And then you just peel up your stamp, place it onto an appropriately sized block, just like so. If you want your flowers or your writing to have more of a curve, you can always change the shape with these because they're very flexible and malleable. But I'm going to keep these fairly straight and to the point. So that is one of the advantages of our stamp sets. Now, all of our inks are in a nice, easy to use magnetic case. We used to have the type like many other companies that have kind of a snapping motion involved. And they just were brutal on my arthritis. So I'm really grateful for the magnetic closures. They seal nicely, but they also open without too much bother. So I'm just going to stamp this image all the way across this page. I'm going to be altering the height. I'm going to do some overlays. If I end up with a little that just slide off of the side like so, fantastic. But I'm trying to get kind of this in the wind field of this flower, just like so. Then I'm going to wipe off my block and my stamp. I'm using our stamp chamois, although you could just run it under some water. I actually moisten my stamp chamois with our spray stamp cleaner just because I like the effect so much nicer. It removes a lot of the residue from stamps so that I feel that they get a little cleaner and they have a little bit more longevity. And while I'm at it, I'm going to quickly wipe off my sponge mat that I've made quite a mess of before it also is stained, just like so. Now I'm going to add some butterflies, just like, let's see, kind of want these coming out of my flower space, like so. And I'm going to get them off into a flight pattern. And again, I intentionally went off the page a little. I'm going to clean my butterfly and put it back on its carrier sheet. So now I'm going to choose my sentiment. I'm going to do the "You Make Me Smile" and just put it onto my block like so. Make sure all of your stamps are nicely conditioned. It helps get your ink where you want it. And I'm not pressing hard. I'm just giving it a moment to absorb into the fibers of my material. So just like that, you make me smile. It's a really fun option to add sentiments. A lot of times I make cards without a sentiment already on it so that when I'm ready, I can determine what I want it to say. So I do a lot of blank note cards and keep sentiments handy. Okay, now we're going to get this put together a bit. I'm going to wipe off my little space from all of my distress oxides and give it a moment to dry. I'm going to take my card base that has a valley and a peak. You're going to hold it to the peak. It's pre-scored. That helps your fibers stay smooth instead of coming apart. Then I'm going to edge distress my image with some pumice stone. I could rub it along the mat. And then after I have gotten the pumice stone on, just to add a little bit of nice effect, I'm going to attach this to some black cardstock that is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to raise this up a little by using some thin 3D foam tape. And I tend to use quite a bit because I add so many embellishments, which you're going to see momentarily. As you can tell from the back of this card, I did not clean my messy mat very well. And that's fine, because that's not going to be seen. So I'm just going to lift off the backing on all of my adhesive tape. Wipe down my mat again because I make it so messy. Slide in my black cardstock. I'm going to place it roughly evenly. If it's not perfect, I'm okay with that. Then I'm going to use my tape runner and adhere it to my card base. Now, a lot of people tend to do their embellishments beforehand, and there's some wisdom in this, because if you mess up, you've ruined an entire card versus just the section that you ruin. But I don't always follow that rule of thumb. I'm going to take some clear shimmer pen. I'm going to open it off to the side so that if I splatter, it's not a big deal. And then I'm going to just lightly add some sparkle to my butterfly wings. I'm not too worried about getting it on the inside of the circle because I'm going to add a sparkle to that. And the shimmer pen takes a little bit of time to dry, and therefore, I kind of don't care if I get it in that circle. Now I'm going to bring this up so you can catch us. See how that just sparkles and glows? Really like that. So finally, I am going to add a little bit of liquid glass as a super adhesive. You don't have to do this, but I find that I don't trust the sticky part of our sparkles, at least the bitty ones. They're not as solid of a glue dot on the back, I don't think. I mean, they work well, but I'm kind of particular. And I want this to stay forever and ever. So I just used the edge of my non-stick scissors to lift off my embellishment and slide it on to my project exactly where I want it. I find I have better placement ability that way. And so some people use tweezers. I find I drop them or they flip more when I'm using itty bitty tiny little things like this. So settling these in. Just like so. And that is how you complete this You Make Me Smile rainbow card. Isn't this absolutely breathtaking? I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, and share this video, as well as leave a comment as to what parts you liked and what you would change. Have a great day. Bye for now.